don't settle.
Okay.
Don't settle for mediocre. I mean, it's easy to have an average life that's okay and some good experiences, but you don't have to settle for that. Don't get comfortable in that. You can have so much more.
Welcome to the Inflow Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I am here on another episode of the Inflow Podcast. Super excited to be with my very good friend and coaching student, Lori Maines. And I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correct, right? Because I should always ask actually prior to starting the interview, but I always figured, well, I'm just going to go and give it my best shot. And I guess you can correct me. Was that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So welcome, Lori. How are you?
I'm good. It's a great day.
Thank you so much for being. You look absolutely beautiful today. So I love the earrings, makeup, everything is perfect. And thank you so much for being here with me today. Because we spoke a few weeks ago, and I thought that it would be an amazing opportunity to learn from you and to hear about your experience as a woman. You've been in a prior career for about 32 years. Prior, you served as president of a smaller manufacturing company. And I basically just want to hear a little bit about your story. How did you grow up around money? Did you set out on a mission to go through the corporate ladder in that company and become part of the leadership? Like, how did Lori grow up? Like, how was it? Tell me.
Actually, my life was very easy growing up. But because it was easy, I don't think I strived enough for excellence. Mm-hmm. I literally would just, I would always excel in any job that I had. I would always move up. When I joined the manufacturing company, they weren't manufacturing yet, and they hired me to help with advertising and marketing because they were developing a product to start manufacturing. Okay. And so that's basically, how I came into it. And I've always tried to learn as much as I can and be as useful as I can at any company. So I basically learned the business, kept taking on more and more responsibility. Mm-hmm. And people appreciate that. Yeah. Not many people, people are willing to sit there in their little cubicle and do what they have to do. And then, I don't know, cruise the internet for a while and not really put themselves forward and put themselves out there to make themselves the best person they can be and help the company be the best company it can be. Yeah. So, I grew, I learned to take on more things. I learned more about the manufacturing. Since I would handle all the catalogs and stuff, I would find mistakes that had gone on in engineering, when I'd go to do instructions and go, this isn't going to work. Let's look at this again, And
I love that you mentioned, that you were, learning as much as you can and taking as much responsibility as you could. And yeah, those are very entrepreneurial, almost type of qualities, you know what I mean? That I think, company would appreciate from anyone that is not necessarily the entrepreneur or the founder itself, but that are, I think, key things. This lifetime commitment to learning is something that I'm passionate about as well. And about always being, I always tell, in our team, I'm like, we want to be, busy Betties. And somebody brought it up as one of my mentors as well. And she's like, yeah, I'm telling my sales team, also that we don't want to be looking for a chatty catty, but for actually the person that is busy, that is striving, that is looking for more. And so I just wanted to acknowledge it, because I hear that over and over again, taking more responsibility than, the job description calls for, or learning as much as you can, and always being curious, because for you, even curious about the engineering aspect, even though it affected, your position, but it wasn't really your role, but you still are curious about it and interested in it because of your desire for learning and for growth. So anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go for it. Keep going.
Well, I don't remember the stats exactly, but they say that something to the effect of 20% of the people working do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it goes. There are people that will float and do nothing. But it was very exciting. It was interesting because as I grew and started having more power, I kind of sometimes felt like a little faker, because all these people, in the industry had all these degrees and all this background. And, I never finished college. I wanted to get out there and get amongst them. I wanted to get working, earn my own money, feels good to earn your own cash,
Mm-hmm.
So from 16 on, I was working. But yeah, it was
so almost like you felt like an imposter, and for us women, that is so common that we feel like, it's like, it's even called as imposter syndrome. Yeah. Where we basically we don't feel qualified enough, or with the credentials, even there is statistics showing that, in order for us ladies to go for a job, for a job or a career path, we want to make sure that we're 100% ready for it. And for our male counterparts, they only need to feel like they're 60% there to take the initiative and go for the job, right. Because of this impulse. How did you deal with that kind of, with that going on in your mind?
You know what? When I was in school, I was in drama. Mm-hmm. So it really helped me be able to be in front of people and just fake it.
Make it.
I mean, I've done presentations in front of big groups up on a stage with my little PowerPoint standing there for like Disney and all these powerful companies who were there to look at, female run companies. And it was really scary, but you do it, you get through it. Mm-hmm. I had a gentleman afterwards, when everyone was mingling afterwards, I felt really good. He came up and he said, because you really know how to present. You weren't dancing around the stage up there. You were able to hold still, get to the point, and we could focus on what you were saying rather than wanting someone to hold still or quit saying and. So, mm-hmm. So yeah, I've had a lot of wins, even, while feeling like, should I really be here? But you just have to get through that. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. And you just gotta do it. Mm-hmm. Just because you're not comfortable doing it doesn't mean you can't, and you can't do it well.
Exactly. And it's almost like a matter of like building muscle. I always say, that the first time you do something, it's not going to be the best, but everything worth doing is worth doing poorly at the beginning, and you get better, you build the muscle. And more than anything, I almost feel like it's like your nervous system normalizes. If in the beginning it costs you stress because you've never done it before, kind of like your nervous system normalizes. The more you do it, the more it's like, okay, this is this is normal. I can actually deal with that in almost like your capacity, you know, it's tiny in the beginning, and it slowly starts to expand and expand and expand to many, many more things. So, you know, it sounds kind of like what you are describing right now. Now, about 3 years ago, Lori, I know that you decided that you wanted to follow your joy. Yeah. And because at the end of the day, you know, I always say that the Inflow podcast is not just about inflows of cash, but is inflows of ease, joy, grace in our life. And you decided to, you know, follow your joy, take a different path, and kind of like reinvent and recreate yourself. Tell us about kind of like that decision. And was it a difficult decision to make? And how did you pivot? How did you navigate through that pivot?
Well, it wasn't even necessarily by choice, because, you know, I was very satisfied. I never really reached out. I was always satisfied with what I was doing. And I had a great life. I've been great places. I've traveled, I scuba dive. I've done a lot of wonderful things, but I started, as the industry started changing, the owner and I started butting heads a lot about the best course of action for the future of the company.
Okay. Yeah.
And, you know, when you're the boss, you're the owner, you're the owner. And she finally got tired of the butting heads and said, you know what, see ya. And so,
that must have been hard after I don't know how many years, devoted to that,
yep,
to that company. Yeah.
But, yeah, my husband and I were both in shock since we both worked there. It was like, okay, see ya. And on our way home, we were in shock. It's like, okay, well, for the first time, I thought, wow, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
What do I want to do? I don't know. And the next morning, it was, I feel like the universe whispered in my ear or something. The next morning, I heard an ad on the radio for wholesaling houses. And they were going to have a free session the next weekend. And I thought, real estate. I know people make money in real estate. And we'd had a condo that we rented for quite a while. And we have a piece of vacant land. And I thought, yeah, let's check into this stuff. Let's do this, And we did. We started studying real estate. We did a few flips. Don't ever do flips. That is no fun. That's just
house flips, you mean?
Oh yeah. That was not, we decided that was not good because we did so much of it ourselves. I mean, we're out there digging trenches and painting walls and doing tile, just
rehabbing. Yeah.
Yeah. But, and we looked at all kinds of things. We worked probates for a while. We worked foreclosures. We really explored all kinds of different things, but nothing really fit. It just didn't, I couldn't wear it well, and, then Jack came to the RIA here in Las Vegas and talked about land flipping. And I'm like, land. What a simple, it's not easy, but compared
it's so much simpler.
Oh, it's so much simpler. And people are so attached to their homes.
Yeah.
And dirt you can be really unattached to.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. So I just, the light bulb went off again. And I said, this is it. This is, and I looked at my husband. I said, I know we've looked at all kinds of things. I know we've spent all kinds of money studying and getting our education here. I said, but this one is it. This will work. I know it. And it has.
was it kind of like an inner knowing? Was it
Yes, it was absolutely an inner knowing. I knew. In fact, I called my daughter and I told her about it. She's like, "Oh, Mom, oh, really? Because you've been looking at all these different things and, you spend all this money and all this education." I said, "I know. And you know what? It all brought me here." I said, "I may not have even realized what a great thing it was if I hadn't have gone through the other stuff." So it was just an education. People spend lots of money on their education. So mine didn't end up with a college degree. It ended up in a much better place as far as I'm concerned right now with this. So
yeah, absolutely. So now let's forward 3 years, and actually, you have been working together, with Greg. You both have, been doing land flipping. You're actually a current, coaching student inside of our land profit coaching program. I know, like last time we spoke, you had closed like 7 deals, like at around $43,000, and you had other other transactions in the pipeline and escrow. Right. How did those close? Where what's the status of?
Yeah, we have 2 in escrow right now that'll be closing this month, and that'll be another $23,000.
That is fantastic.
And then we also have 15 other contracts that we're still marketing and still trying to get more. So it's just got to keep at it.
That is fantastic. So $66,000, 43 already cash in the bank, 23 coming within the next few weeks, and there's still 15 more contracts. That is amazing. I'm always like, I always love hearing these stories, from, I mean, would you have conceived of 15 house flips or 15 deals under contract and actually feeling like you could fulfill and basically bring them full closure,
Not with house flips. No, that would have been just way too crazy and way too much money in. I mean, that's the beauty of this is there's no risk in it. Mm-hmm. There's really no risk.
Yeah.
Depending on how you're playing the game. And
because you probably are doing double close on those deals, right? So meaning where you're bringing the proceeds are coming really from the end buyer to pay for the seller, and you in the middle, only are paid from the buyer's proceeds, basically, or the buyer's funds. You're probably doing assignments. Have you done any assignments?
I have done. My very first deal was an assignment.
Okay.
It was swampland in Florida.
Hey, we're not the market, and whatever, we think it's swampland that is useless, it depending on what, people want it for. We have here a property in Northern Arizona that doesn't perk, meaning it doesn't pass a percolation test, which allows basically a person to put in a standard septic system so that you can actually build. And I remember the very first time we came across a lot like that, we were thinking, oh my gosh, we're stuck with this thing. How are we going to sell this? And then it always, we always remember now to this day, this one deal where we're not the market. We found actually someone that wanted to just go camping and bring and park their RV on the weekends. And they wanted to be close to the White Mountain Lake area because this is here up in Northern Arizona. And they're like, we don't care if it perks or not. We never have the intention of building on it. We just want to be able to have a place where we can go for 2.5 hours, outside of the city with the family and basically play. And that's exactly what that piece of land was for them. And then ever since then, I'm like, you know what I mean? The same what we consider it on a flood zone, in Florida, it's the same thing, unless you never know what the buyer's, intentions are, and you can never make a decision for them as far as, whether it's good land or not. We've had people that wanted to buy our piece of land and they wanted the land to actually have, large acreage that be full of washes. And I'm like, oh my God, why would anyone want this? Well, the lady wanted to go and pan gold, even though mineral rights don't come with the land here in Arizona, in the state of Arizona. She wanted it to pan gold and to go ride, ATVs with her family. And she wanted the washes. So you just never know. So So it's interesting to say, to hear you say right now with the first deal. So that's amazing. So now you and Greg are working together. Jack and I also work together. Before you guys were not working together, you were working for that other company in this new path, this new life as real estate investors and entrepreneurs. You guys are working together. What's making that partnership work? What makes it click?
Well, working together at the other company helped, although.
Oh, you did work together at the other company also. Okay.
Yeah, but totally separately. I mean, his responsibilities were so separate from my responsibilities, different parts of the office. I mean, here we're like, we are in the thick of it together, and it's not like we really sat down and said, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, we're going to do this way, because we kind of already had those things set up, just because of our skill set that we were so familiar with each other. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of he's the technical guy with the computers, the equipment, the research with the counties, research on the properties, all of that. Uh-huh. And I'm kind of the front person, I'm the creative. I do the ads.
You're probably on the phone with buyers, with sellers.
I'm the buyers, sellers, escrows, builders, whoever we're dealing with on whatever level. Mm-hmm. And you learn a lot. I mean, it's so funny. This business just, I would have probably been a lot more lost had we not done so much studying in real estate. To just come to this and have nothing, it probably would have been more of a struggle to get up and running, just terminology, phrases, just all of that. It's every industry kind of has their own language and their own knowledge you need to have. Yeah. But it's interesting because what I have found is we've never worked like with computers and stuff together, if you will. Yeah. Like he'll go to search something and I'll be sitting next to him going, no, just hit this button. And everything we do mechanically is so different, which is surprising. It's like, oh, I didn't know you could search that way. Or, oh, I didn't know you hit the date and it all, So it's been interesting just seeing how differently we function on that small, minute level,
Now, how do you, because not every day is lollipops and cherries. Now, how are you guys dealing with the stress of running, what will be very, very soon, a 6-figure land flipping business? And what are some things that you guys are doing to make sure that, that once, the time at the office, is over, that you don't bring, that energy and that work into the remainder of your days?
The remainder of the day?
Is there a remainder?
You know what? Right now, we're doing so much of this that it really has kind of, overtaken our life. We have to make ourselves stop or go do something else. It's like this Sunday, we went for a wonderful walk up onto a mesa in the middle of the desert here, looking out over everything. And it was beautiful just to get out and
be outdoors.
With COVID, it's just nice to get out anymore. It seems like we've all been locked inside for so long, but we do.
And plus, if you're getting deals under contract and things are getting sold, it can be addicting, to just keep going and keep going. And actually, since you mentioned COVID, so how did COVID affect you in any way in the land business? Did you start prior to it, during it? And I mean, just a little bit of context.
We met Jack about a year ago.
Okay.
He came to our RIA in March. Okay. So we really got going.
Right when the pandemic struck then.
Yeah. So to be able to find a new career that is looking, more and more lucrative each day that goes by. Mm-hmm. In the middle of COVID, when people are losing their businesses, they can't go out, they can't do anything. And yet we've been able to do this and get this going,
we always call that, creating your own economy with land. We've been able to do it back in 2008, 2009 in this huge, big recession. The pandemic, precipitated an economic downturn as well. And we've been able again, to create our own economy, all of our students. I mean, you guys are doing it day in and day out. And it's, I always say that there's nothing that brings me much more peace of mind and, cash confidence, knowing that we're in an asset class that is not just recession proof, but even pandemic proof, because of the nature of not having to rehab, not having to be in a physical space, showing a property or staging a property and so on and so forth. So yeah, now as you're looking into the future, as I was telling you, earlier before we started recording, is that, I know statistically, that, and for all women out there, whether you have a spouse or not, that we are statistically, going to be living longer lives, that our average life expectancy and lifespan, and that it is super, super important, no matter what age you're at as a woman, that, that you are in control of your finances, that you never abdicate your power to anyone else, and so on and so forth. But how are you preparing right now, for the future, you both together, as far as retirement goes? Any insights or ideas as to what you guys are doing there?
Really, we're going just full speed ahead with this. There's no, I have no reason to retire. There's no, why would you want to? I know. I'm seriously, I tease my kids. It's like, I come from this really healthy line of family. I tell my kids they're going to have to throw me off a cliff at 100 if they want to get rid of me. So I just figured, I spent 32 years working on somebody else's dream. I'm going to spend the next 32 working on my own damn dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I love that. Absolutely. And have unrealistic. I always say, who wants realistic dreams? You want to go for unrealistic dreams, because we all have, so many crazy stories and backgrounds, and we come from so many different walks of life, where if we were to set realistic dreams for ourselves and goals, we wouldn't be where we are. And I love that outlook and perspective, and I always say also, I love what I do so much, and I love basically the vehicle of real estate that allows you to have a piece of vacant lot and use it as your cash machine, kind of like to become what we typically call rich in cash in the bank, but not necessarily in balance sheet. Because eventually, even though you might sell your pieces of land using seller financing, those people are going to pay off their land. But I always like thinking, that it's a perfect vehicle, at least the asset class right now, because it gives you, or in general, real estate, it gives you the opportunity to create cash and then allocate that cash into other asset classes that, will keep you going and bring passive income, for more than 5, 10, 15 years. And a land note, my last for. So I'm excited that you guys are of the same opinion. I'm like, I will always be doing real estate. It's going to always be ka-ching in my house, whether, whether we're sleeping, vacationing, or whatever. There's always going to be mailbox money coming in from some form of real estate investment, that we've engaged in, for sure. Now, so you guys are all in on this, day in, day out. Tell me, how are you bringing in or cultivating some ease, some grace in your life on your daily basis?
I think mostly just my mindset.
Okay.
Because I've realized that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just knowing, just keeping that going, just keeping, I can have this. I'm worthy of this. Why not? Why not dream big?
Those are amazing questions. Yeah.
I went so long just being satisfied. Being satisfied. I had a good life. So why do anything else? And it's like, I feel like I missed out on so much. I wish I caught this fire, 20 years ago, because it's just so empowering to know that you really can have anything, but you have to decide to do that. You have to take those steps.
Yeah.
It's not magic. You can't, learn a program or get a college degree and have it sit there on the wall or sit there on a shelf. It's like, you have to do it. You have to do the work. You have to make the steps, comfortable or not, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And you're right. It all starts with mindset. It's like, we were watching Queen. We were a little concerned because, it's a strong movie. This past weekend, at the time of this recording, with my daughter, Sophia, she's now 13. And, somewhere there, somebody was talking about, in order to have good actions or good deeds, you need, it starts with good thoughts. Good thoughts equal good words equal good actions, and you're right. Mindset is so important, especially when, the tendency is for us to say, when an opportunity comes, who do you think you are to be able to do something like that? I like to call it like my shitty bitty committee. And then I reframe that question and I'm like, well, why not? Why not me? Why not now? That was actually our theme for last year. We always come up with like a theme for the year, and that was exactly it. And boy, did that, that theme for the year hit it on the spot, especially, in the middle of such a Blockstone event like we had during COVID last year, where we broke through. I mean, just incredible breakthrough year in not just in our education business, but most importantly in the land flipping business as well, because, land was selling like crazy. I wish I would have had much more inventory of recreational land and path of growth, because everyone was wanting to, spend some time out there with their family, and we definitely did not have enough. And it took us like a good 60 days to really ramp up our mailings, and so on and so forth. But yeah. So now, 3 pieces of advice, Lori, for a woman, that is listening right now, either starting out or looking to recreate herself. What are some wisdom, your wisdom gems that if we, were to think back and you would go back in time and give yourself this advice, when you were graduating, high school, what would those 3 pieces of advice be now that you've had all of this experience in hindsight?
I would say the first one is don't settle.
Okay.
Don't settle for mediocre. I mean, it's easy to have an average life that's okay and some good experiences, but you don't have to settle for that. Don't get comfortable in that. You can have so much more. And I guess next would be, don't be timid. It's, if you're not doing stuff you don't know, or you've never done before, is always uncomfortable. Yeah. But the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
And the more you're doing it, the more you learn from other people and yourself, because you're out there doing it.
Yeah.
And I think so many people let that stop them. And a lot of people who know me would be very surprised to find out this stuff that I do all the time is out of my comfort zone. And I do it because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction in that, when you've gotten through it and you're, I mean, my first escrow, I'm sitting there talking to people like I knew what I was doing and what they should be doing and what I needed. And again, I was just a big fat faker. But, you know, now I can herd rabbits through an escrow because sometimes you have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love this because I think of myself also like as this adrenaline junkie, you know, I mean, what a rush, something that you've never done before. And even if you stumble your way through it, I get once you're on the other side, you know, it's like it is exhilarating to know that you've been able to do something that you didn't think you could or that you've never done before. So I love that. And what would be number 3?
Don't listen to your story. Okay. Listen to your dream. Because everybody has a story. Everybody has a reason why they can't do something or why they would never be good enough to do something. Everybody has that twirling around in their head all the time. You need to just cut that loop off. Yes. You know, I can never be successful. I didn't get a college degree. Well, talk to Bill Gates. You know, it obviously can be done, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like you got to put your story aside. All those things you tell yourself of why you can't, you just look at your dream and figure out how you're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, be driven by that vision, and the how shows up. You know, it's kind of like you got to make a decision on what why you're doing it and what that thing is going to be, you know. Kill other options is always, you know, something that I like to say. And once you've killed other options, the universe comes to show you the how, you know, more often than not, that it's almost like it conspires. And when you have not committed or decided, the universe is uncertain as to what you want, and therefore nothing really happens. But the moment that you're crystal clear in a direction, you know, of what it is that you want, it's every single time I've always felt like, embraced and lifted, you know, by an energy that I'm going to call God towards things just happening, you know, and stumbling my way forward and falling forward in faith is what I like to call, you know, in whatever it is that I'm doing. So,
as long as you're following forward.
Yeah, and failing forward too. Yeah, failing forward for sure. And sometimes, you know, you need to take a few steps back. It's happened to me too. That I've had to take those steps back, but I always think about it like as a bow, you know, in archery, where it goes back, but once it, you know, it's only going back to have strength, energy, and force to really power through forward. And that happens sometimes occasionally to all of us too. It certainly happened to, you know, to me before, to Jack, to us, you know, in all our business, you know, in whatever line of business we've been at, that you sometimes have to take 2 steps back, but that's just to spring forward. So Lori, thank you so much. I have had a wonderful time, you know, getting to know you a little bit more, conversing, chatting, and just learning from you. You know, I'm like, you have a lot of things in common here: responsibility, being a lifetime learner, not settling for mediocrity, not being timid, not listening to your story versus a dream. Just, you know, the things that you guys are doing to make, you know, the partnership, you know, grow together, and how you want to just keep at it and keep going forward. We so underestimate, you know, what we can do in a span of 3-5 years, and overestimate what we can do in a year. And you guys are just focused on the now, on the present, chipping along, you know, getting your deals under contract, selling, and looking basically to normalize that success so that you can probably, you know, start engineering the next level, and so on and so forth. So
exactly.
So super excited for you guys. Jack and I couldn't be more proud. And I am so happy that so many more, you know, ladies exclusively here on Inflow are going to be hearing about your story. And if anyone wanted to reach out to you, you are on Facebook, correct?
Yes. So they can DM me on Facebook and anytime.
Yes, and if you are in listening to this, and and selling land. Lori's buying and flipping it. So thank you so much, Lori. It is a pleasure. Thank you everyone.
You guys just offer such a wonderful place to plant your seed and grow.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate them. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this, thank you so much for spending another wonderful, time of gold, that I like to call it here, in your ear. If you're listening to this while you're driving or while you're jogging or whatever, thank you so much for spending time with us. Leave us a review if you like the episode. Share with another important, special woman in your life. Every single episode is usually, stories of either amazing women like Lori, not just in the real estate space, but thought leaders in other industries. Sometimes it's mind vitamins coming from from me, or just experiences and my learnings as I myself as a real estate investor, learn and grow. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to spend time with you in the next episode of In Flow.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.